Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the academic party and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 490th Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Good morning, everyone. Let me invite you to take your seats. My name is Busch-Vishniac. I am the Provost and Vice President Academic of McMaster University. This morning I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of welcoming you to Convocation. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in the hall to think about any device they have that sings, rings, whirs, or makes any other noise. Please turn it off now. I promise we will provide adequate acoustic entertainment. Thank you. And first, I would like to then call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Lynton Wilson, to make some welcoming remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Provost, and good morning to you all. President, Vice Chancellor, Deane Capone, honorary graduate, members of the Platform Party, graduands, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to this 490th Convocation of McMaster University. To those graduating, you've reached an important milestone, an exciting milestone in your lives. Many of you will begin careers, embarking on new journeys. Some of you will be continuing your education, training, or preparation for more advanced or specialized activities. To the parents, grandparents, family members, spouses, and friends here today, you may bask in reflected glory and take pride in the accomplishments being recognized in this convocation. To our faculty and staff, today marks tangible recognition of your efforts, particularly the successes of your students evident in this ceremony. I wish you all an enjoyable morning.
It is my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Patrick Deane, President and Vice Chancellor, who will be presenting our honorary degree recipient.
Mr. Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Francis A. Plummer. Dr. Frank Plummer is internationally recognized for his work in public health and science, particularly for his contributions to AIDS and HIV research. He has received numerous honors, including an appointment as Officer of the Order of Canada and as a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. After earning his medical degree from the University of Manitoba in 1976, Dr. Plummer has become one of the world's leading specialists in HIV/AIDS. During his 17 years at the University of Nairobi, where he trained in internal medicine and infectious diseases, he discovered and studied a group of women who remained resistant to HIV despite repeated exposure. Understanding the mechanisms underlying their natural immunity, including its genetic basis, could lead to the development of an HIV vaccine. He received the I.S. Ravidin Award in the Basic Sciences from the American College of Surgeons and the St. Boniface Hospital and Research Foundation International Award for his work on HIV/AIDS in Africa. In 2005, Dr. Plummer and his team received an $8.3 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's Grand Challenges in Global Health program to continue studies on HIV resistance and to work on an HIV vaccine. Dr. Plummer's work has also led to low-cost educational and practical interventions that have been adopted by UNAIDS and the World Bank to reduce the spread of HIV/AIDS. In addition to his work in Nairobi, Dr. Plummer has trained at the University of Southern California, the University of Manitoba, and the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. He joined the University of Manitoba faculty in 1984 and is currently a distinguished professor at the University of Manitoba, as well as professor of medical microbiology and community health sciences. He has received the Michael Smith Award as Canada's Health Researcher of the Year from the Canadian Institutes of Health Research and been awarded numerous other honors, including the RH Institute Award, an Achievement Award from the American Venereal Disease Association, Fellowship, Scholarship, Scientist and Senior Scientist Awards from the Medical Research Council of Canada, the I.S. Ravidin Award in the Basic Sciences from the American College of Surgeons, the St. Boniface Hospital Research Foundation International Award for work on HIV/AIDS in Africa. Currently, Dr. Plummer is the Chief Science Officer of the Public Health Agency of Canada and the Scientific Director General of the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg and for Public Health Agency of Canada. Dr. Plummer has made brilliant contributions to global health and humanitarian medicine. Wherever he has gone, he has made exceptional discoveries, advances, and innovations that have and will continue to extend and save lives. Mr. Chancellor, I ask that you confer upon this foremost figure in the battle against infectious diseases the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Francis Plummer, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Science, honoris causa in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Plummer to deliver the convocation address. Dr. Plummer.
Well, good morning, Chancellor Wilson, President Deane, distinguished faculty, honored guests, graduates, parents, family members, and friends. I would like to begin by telling you how honored I am to be receiving an honorary Doctorate of Sciences from McMaster University. I'm delighted to become a McMaster alumnus, together with all of you who are graduating today. Thank you, McMaster, for choosing to honor me in this way, and congratulations to all of you who will soon be the latest McMaster alumni. I thought long and hard about what I would say at this important ceremony, and I decided to tell you about what I currently do and the path I took to get here, and try to draw some lessons from that. I trained as an infectious disease physician, having entered medicine because my mother told me it would make her proud, and because I didn't have any better ideas for a future career. I am now the director of the Government of Canada's principal infectious disease laboratory in Winnipeg, one that has a key role in protecting Canada and the global community against infectious disease threats. I continue to do work on HIV, studying genetic and immunologic mechanisms of natural resistance to HIV infection. I have reflected many times on the fact that I have no training for managing a large laboratory, or in immunology, or in genetics. I was trained to diagnose and treat infectious diseases. If, at the end of my training, someone had told me where my career would go and the path it would take, I would have thought them deluded. So how did I get here? Well, when I interviewed at the University of Manitoba for my infectious disease training, my mentor, Dr. Alan Ronald, asked me if I was interested in spending some time in Kenya on a new research project he was starting on a nasty bacterial sexually transmitted disease called chancroid. I said yes, even though I thought sexually transmitted diseases were disgusting and had no interest in working on them for the long term. The reason for this was that I had been on a pretty straight path, pre-med, medicine, internship, residency, fellowship training, and I'd never done anything interesting or exciting. And this seemed like an opportunity to do something a bit different. So in 1981, I spent 11 months in Kenya. During that short period of time, I had several realizations. I was working in a sexually transmitted disease clinic that had 2 doctors, me being one, and we saw 600 patients a day. I came to the conclusion that solving this problem, one patient at a time, was never going to work, and that we needed to figure out how to prevent these diseases. The second realization was that I was good at research. After 11 months in Kenya, we published 12 papers, including 2 in the Lancet and 1 in the New England Journal. And I thought, hey, this is easy. I can do research to understand how to control sexually transmitted infections. I can tell you that it has never been that easy since. The third realization was that it was easier for one individual to have an impact in saving lives and reducing suffering in a setting like Kenya than it was in Canada. I also fell in love with the country. So after the first stint in Kenya, I returned to Canada and completely changed my future plans. I wanted to work on sexually transmitted diseases in Africa, and 2 years later I was recruited to be the first University of Manitoba faculty member based primarily in Nairobi, running and building our research collaboration. I went with the expectation of staying in Kenya for 2 years and ended up staying there for 17 years. The collaboration continued to do work on chancroid, but my own area of focus was to be on understanding natural immunity to gonorrhea. Our approach to this question was to study repeated infections in female sex workers in Nairobi. We set up a cohort of 600 female sex workers and began the study. At the same time, it was just beginning to be understood that there was a significant problem with the newly discovered human immunodeficiency virus in Africa. And at the insistence of a young infectious disease fellow who was visiting from the University of Washington, I reluctantly agreed to do a study on HIV among this sex worker cohort. To our shock and surprise, when the results came in some months later, 2/3 of the women in this cohort were infected with HIV. And this was at a time when AIDS was not known to be a problem in Kenya at all. This was also at a time when conventional wisdom held that HIV was a disease of men, and that women were less susceptible to HIV than men. We now know that this is completely untrue, and that in fact the reverse is the case. This meant a total shift in the focus of my research program. HIV, rather than gonorrhea, became the raison d'etre for the sex worker project and the core of my work. As I mentioned, at the time that we got the HIV results from this cohort, conventional wisdom held that women weren't very susceptible to HIV. So we asked the question, if women are not very susceptible to HIV, how did 2/3 of the women in this group become infected? The initial analysis we did showed that the longer a woman had been engaged in sex work, the less likely she was to be HIV positive. This is the equivalent of finding that the longer a person smokes, the less likely they are to get lung cancer. Our HIV result could only occur if the longest exposed HIV-negative sex workers were in some way resistant to infection. We published this data and the associated hypothesis in 1988, and we've been working on trying to understand it ever since. Everything that we have discovered from the genetic point of view and an immunologic point of view points to these women being immune to HIV in some way. And we think that this will ultimately lead to showing the world how to make an HIV vaccine. Over the years, our University of Manitoba, University of Nairobi group showed that breastfeeding was an important route of spread of HIV from mother to child, showed that circumcised men were protected against HIV, and learned how to prevent HIV through targeted interventions. Acceptance of each of these findings met resistance from competing policy agendas, but each of them now are mainstream interventions internationally and are preventing many thousands of HIV infections around the world each year. Up until about February 2000, I had no thought of doing anything but finishing my career working on HIV in Kenya. However, a number of factors, including the opportunity to lead the Government of Canada's leading infectious disease laboratory and the need to move my research beyond epidemiology and into genetics and immunology, caused me to move back to Winnipeg and take on the directorship of the National Microbiology Laboratory. This required another career transition and transformation and the acquisition of a new skill set. Since then, it's been an exciting roller coaster of West Nile virus, various Ebola virus outbreaks in Africa, Marburg virus outbreaks, H1N1 pandemics, SARS, and the constant occurrence of outbreaks of foodborne illness, which keep us busy. All in all, a good decision to move back to Winnipeg from Nairobi, in spite of the change from a perfect climate in Nairobi to Winnipeg's much harsher one. So what have I learned from my experiences? I think that there are 5 main themes. First of all, my mother was right. Doesn't matter what she was right about, she was just right. Second, learning only begins with graduation. The main thing that you have learned at McMaster over the last number of years is how to learn. What comes in life may require you to transform yourself many times, whether that is a new discipline, changing careers, taking on additional responsibilities, or bringing a newborn home from the hospital. Expect this and embrace it. Third, life is not a straight course. What you have planned will be affected by events outside of your control. For example, HIV was not even heard of when I finished medical school, yet I made my career studying it. These twists are opportunities which, if you can recognize them and seize them, can take you in unexpectedly but rich, rewarding directions. Fourth, simple solutions can save many lives. And fifth, conventional wisdom and dogma are the enemies of truth. The idea that women were less susceptible than men to HIV, which was widely accepted in the 1980s, proved to be completely false. Don't be afraid of challenging conventional wisdom and dogma and thinking about or looking at things differently. While these points and themes I believe are important, as I look back, my greatest joy has come from my 3 daughters the success of the people I've had the opportunity to be involved in their training and mentoring, and the adaptation of our findings into mainstream HIV prevention. It is wonderful to have had the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. With that, I will close, and thank you for your attention. Once again, thank you, McMaster University, for the honor, and congratulations to all of you who are about to graduate, their parents and families and friends.
Thank you very much, Dr. Plummer. You've had an outstanding career, and I would note your public service part of your career as something that graduates here might look to. That's an important piece in the puzzle for all of us, and I hope some of you will emulate Dr. Plummer and take on public service responsibilities. For the mothers here, I'm sure you identified with his first point. Your mother's always right. Remember that. Dr. Plummer, we're very proud to have you as an alumnus of McMaster University. Thank you very much.
And now we begin that part of the program which many of you have been awaiting, some of you for more years than you care to reveal. I invite Dr. Patrick Deane to come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees and diplomas upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit you to your individual degrees and diplomas in McMaster University, with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees and diplomas. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, may I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study but who are not present.
I declare all these degrees and diplomas conferred in absentia.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduands you would hold your applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates in the degree Doctor of Philosophy: Niket Sidney Donaldson, Jenny Wang, Jessica Erin Pilarczyk, Nicholas Allen Bird, Joel Aaron Court, Dave Gonzalez, Adam Patrick William Johnson, Joanna Kathleen Lake, Anshul Sharma, Christopher Patrick Taylor, Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Master of Arts: Roberto Melfi, Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Master of Science: Gauri Akolkar, Katerine Kibitkin, Christine King, Nina Kurishian, Flora Swen, Tasca Noella Santimano, Nuzet Rafiq, Melanie Cook, and Robin McKenzie.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree of Bachelor of Science: Hadi Abbas, Kanika Agarwal, Michaela Ahern, Amel Akhtar, Ahmed Al-Najjar. Nadine Al-Azwad. Sarah Al-Sai. Mahin Aman. Masa Amir Kabarian. Tallulah Suzanne Andrews. Rebecca Shaquilin Ang. Kauthaman Arawinda Nathan. Gregory Martin. Megan Arp Robertson. Tanya Nina Marie Babel. Daniel Bach. Laura Jane Ball. Upasana Banerjee. Tavleen Bhatt. Piman Bayani. Joshua Bell. Christopher Bernard. Jessica Bevington. Alicia Lynn Bainan. Cassandra Bana. Samantha Biamonte. Chloe N. Boland. Lisette Bonilla. Anna Brakovic. Spencer Davis Buck. Katrina Lisa Callender. Eliza Kaminsky. Sarah Annie Campbell. Sharon Carty. Joseph F. Cavallari. Casey K.N. Kakai Chan. Sinyan Chan. Arun Anoshan Chandrakumar. Sarah Elizabeth Chauvin. Rimpe Kar Chima. Edward Chung. Kelvin Chunhim Chung. Zong-un Choi. Paweki Chu. Margaret Coburn. Nicole Conforzi. Stephen Robert Coots. Brent Ryan Crawford. Kaylin Jane Crawford. Melissa Cunningham. Kenneth D'Souza. Venita Dadar. Matthew Taylor Davidson. Cheryl De Los Riz. Caitlin DeLute. Warren John Dessa. Nisun Sala Medina de Silva. Lowell Nigel de Belena. Ian Day. K. Naomi Diaz. Chang Suk Du. Andrew Doan. Aidan Elizabeth Drum. Kevin Dung. Paul Richard Durkin. Kendall Duchak. Christine Priscilla Edwards. Jonathan James Edwin. Sogal Aishednas. Kyle Bruce Empringham. A. Hillary Esden. Shermeen Fatima Farouki. Sharon Fernandez. Gagandeep Farha. Heather Ann Fisher. Jean Marguerite Fletcher. Gayani Rashmika Fonseca. Kiyada Francasa. Brittany Gagnon. Sandra Kim Gedrouge. Rishu George. Irina Gillick. Alina Giovanetti. Parnian Gorjada. Stephanie Ursula Greer. Alisa Grunwald. Jacqueline Andrea Gujelik. Joanne Alicia Hamill. Jessie Ann Louise Heeman. Michael Hewack. Lisa May Hillen. Hoang V. Tao Ho. Karman Ho. Fatima Muhammad Anasul Haq. Nishath Husenboy. Faizan Imtiaz. Somkeli Iwar Iyama. Navpreet Jadar. Christopher Dragan Jake. Kayla Jansen. Thulasi Jagathisan. Katie Marie Jensen. Joanne Joan. Rebecca Lee Josie. Miloš Kazmarek. Sujani Karadasamy. Sean Kang. Shika Kapoor. Georgia Nicole Carellis. Syra Kassam. Catherine Elizabeth Kendra. Jennifer Kent. Sabah Salim Khan. Sana Salim Khan. Warda Khan. Keon Kim. Jae-sung Kim. Sonyeon Kim. Anya Klajna. Krista Klein-Gebink. Jessica Knox. Frances Larissa Coslem. Jennifer Lynn Bettine Cutler. Swapna Krishnamurthy. Samir Kasara. Catalin Esther Kuhn. Victoria Shu Yi Kwek. Karen Coffey. Hardik Lad. Linda Lamb. Jared LaRock. Joyce Chung Si Law. Brian Chunjae Lee. Elizabeth Lee. Zhonghwan Lee. Wilson Kwang Yun Lee. Aaron Elizabeth Lay. Michael Ho-Ming Lee. Matthew Lee Wan Fong. Leanne Lindsay. Sandra Linsdale. Sarah Meg Lyon. Sujevan Mahandram. Salim Ismat Mehar. Amanda Melenica. Rupinder Mangat. Fiona Christina Manning. Aspasia Manos. Kristen Lynn Muncy. Ilvarase Maran. Adriana Marini. Madeline Martin. Sarah Lynn Martz. Catherine Kugel Mason. Megan May. Caitlin Mary Elizabeth McGarry. Molly Levin McGraw. Heather Rita McGregor. Stephanie Marie Mittinen. Zahar Muhammad Ali. Wendo Morangi. Riley Patrick Murphy Mulligan. Eric Neese. Jessica Eunice Negen. David Negen. Philip Vincent Negen. Priya Tharsina Nimalanantham. Changyun Oh. Diane Oho. John Paul Oliveria. Lavinia Wana Oltin. Gladys Angian Ocean. Justin Pang. Abram Benjamin Pankhurst. Alexandra Polina. Stephanie Ann Poloni. Chaitia Parikh. Christopher Parker Rajewski. Nicholas Persady. Gregory Aris Pirokos. Bryce Anthony Poirier. Harian Puyani. Sally Poon. Dunstan Pushkamar. Carlo Puzo. Angela Lynn Quash. Julianne Radnor. Karen Carr Rye. Priya Raha. Nazanin Rahabi. Kripa Raman. Maya Ramanathan. Deepa Rana. Parampunit Rana. Constance Marie Rattel. Abira Ravindran. Ashanti Pradeepa Ravindran. Kiran Reddy. Martin M. Reese. Jessica Ann Rennie. Lisa Marie Robertson. Robin Rosone. Andrea Rubiano. Alexandra Reiter. Hemantita Sang. Nabel Sakran. Mohammed Shakil Salamath. Avik Sarkar. Louis Patrick Schenk. Alexandra Seichter. Parth Shah. Manpreet Kaur Shako. Natasha Sheikh. Christian Lee Schulist. Olga Sharoka. Mohammed Kashif Siddiqui. Caitlin M. Saidi. Kiran Preet Sidhu. Ajay Singh. Amanda Audrey Smith. Jamie Victoria Smith. Sorana Christinia Soptiran. Krishna Saray. Cassandra Sum. Christopher Sopa. Good enough. Philip Sutak. Manisha Talukdar. Parul Talandon. Alessandro Tarley. Erica Lee Tatham. Jennifer Laura Taylor. Jennifer Thompson. Cassandra Marie Thompson. Everett Lance Chiloki. Vishal Tiwari. Jessica Tran. Lillian Tran. Neethi Trivedi. Chun Hui Jessica Sai. David Sang. Peter Albert Skierhart. Taylor Reed Tuff. Brian Richard Tunama. Stephanie Amanda Tukonik. Sarah Turner. Mark James Vandervecken. Cheyenne Vandervelde. Teroshika Vazanthan. Anelia Vasileva. Andre David Berra. Theodore Baldwin Burhay. Jelena Vichik. Vitushan Vijayakumaran. Rachel Marie Vizcara. Matthew Ryan Boisson. Christine Marie Maitranvu. Christopher Jonathan Wan. Caitlin Vasalicha. Kemp Weeb. Jasmine Jean Williams Datovich. Matthew Willis. Carmen Man Wong. Michael Wong. George William James Wright. Lingyan Chow. Sulung Rebecca. Sharif Yan. Rose Yi. Afrisa Young. Ye Yuan. Victoria Yum. Mizna Zavari. Okay. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science, Kinesiology. Hisham Al-Sheikh Erashi. Catherine Sarah Alguire. Richard Jason Andrews. Angela Isabel Arce Salas. Lisa Kakumi Azuma. Catherine Bart. Shane James Timothy Balthazar. Bradley Robert Boak. Duncan Boothby. Flory Bowen. James Boyle. Emma Lynn Brandy. Jessica Bianca Bravo. Tamsin Marie Brown. Ben Thomas Burford. Dane Joseph Boutanar. Jessica Ann Marie Capoletto. Jovi Chan. Lucas Cheng. Kristen Holly Chung. Natalie Chung. Samantha Dorothy Chung. Matthew J. Sino. Sonia Clark. Nicole Beatrice Mary Clements. Andrea Nicole Kreiderman. Victoria Duga. Katie Marie Deane. Leah Michelle DeRoche. Gregory Douglas Robert Dixon. Jessica Lynn Doy. Kathy Ray Dukert. Brittany Duggan. Ellen Ray Efford. Carly Jane Fairless. Laura Faulds. Alisa Marie Fanuta. Kathleen Ferguson. David Fortino. Francesca Maria Fortino. Julie Heather Frame. Alessandro Francella. Carolyn Ann Frankovich. Daniel Brian Leda Garcia. Christine Marie Germain. Sabrina Gravina. Bonnie Ha. Andrew Shodai Habib. Alexandra Nathalie Hare. Garrett Barr Harper. Katrina Nicole Horrocks. Esther Horvath. Betty Hung. Jade Amanda Hugh. Caitlin Hughes. Jamie Inmin. Blavan Harold Jaramillo. Tina Lynn Jamay. Kristen Kane. Dylan Kelly. Dennison Lai. Grace Law. Lisa Lung. Julianne Hans Lebretz. Hui Tung Tony Lin. Kirsten Angela Lowe. Alisa Marie Teresa Luciani. Adriana Lukic. Emily Lutic. Kendra Mary McFarland. Andrea Madania. Dylan Matheson. Marissa Ann Matiasovich. Matthew McCoy. Richard James McFadden. Michael McCausey. Sean Mindra. Alana Morrison. Omar Nakib. Ryan Northway. Caitlin Alexandra Nunn. Joshua Stephen O'Connell. Keenan Oyung. Tosin Odmujiwa. Merrill Ong. Melissa Paul. Jessica Margaret Piro. Nicole Ann Pettis. Courtney Phillips. Ava Pila. Jessica Pinkerton. Larissa Puash. J. Michael Radford. Morgan Brianna Ray. Laura Kristen Rietmuller. Emily Lynn Roth. Rachel Lynn Rouse. Stephanie Elizabeth Cito. Leanna Souza Barros. Jeremy Steinbach. Carly Jane Swatridge. Jimmy Tatt. Clifford Cameron Taylor. Christine Thomas. Caitlin Grace Tiang. Alexander Tran. Stephen Tresherico. David Daniel Benjamin Veltman Robert. Sarah Elise Rose Warcholek. Jeff Watson. Nicholas Watts. Michael Wenner. Kirsten Wilkes. Jessica Willems. Deanna Marie Williams. Angus Maxwell Wood. Janice Maria Wingyen Wu. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science. Talia Anzel Sivkin. Mark Chaput. David Dadar. Kimberly Logan. Robert Meinhardt. Brian James Poole. Ajit Bir Singh. Adam Philip Somerville. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science, Kinesiology: Calvin Chung, Brandon Savraza, Brian Shermata, Sarah Warren,
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce you to Ms. Katie Jensen, a graduate of the Bachelor of Science Honors Program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Why, thank you. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, distinguished faculty, devoted family and friends, and my fellow graduates, welcome to the Spring Convocation for the Faculty of Science class of 2011. As always, I find myself jealous of the people who got the afternoon slot and get to sleep in. Today, I graduate with a major in biology and a minor in music, which means that my science friends tell me I'm too artsy, and my humanities friends tell me that I'm a nerd. After 4 hard years of studying, eye strain, poor nutrition, bad posture, deflated sense of self-worth, dreams of grandeur, social isolation, and MLA-related nervous breakdowns, we've made it. We're proud to be Marauders. For those of you who don't know what a Marauder is, neither do I. Now, according to every teen comedy that I've ever seen, today marks our transition into the world of adults, which means limitless freedom to do whatever we want, as long as we get our OSAP repayments in on time. But when did we grow up? When we moved into tiny residence rooms and covered every square inch with posters from Imaginus? When we washed sinkfuls of dirty dishes in student houses with mismatched furniture and 10,000 Geno's pizza boxes in the recycling bin? Was it when we watched our ambitious friends get into medical school while we were still floundering with Physics 1B03 and trying to figure out what the point of eye clickers was? Was it when we began to treat our professors as mentors instead of monsters with an insatiable appetite for paradise catering, grant money, and the souls of first years? I suppose it didn't happen all at once. It was the little things that contributed to our maturation, or, in the case of our more inebriated peers, fermentation. Tobogganing down Faculty Hollow, staying up until sunrise to add a course on Muggsy, getting waitlisted for that course because it was already somehow full, selling our textbooks for a fraction of what we paid for them. On that note, if anyone is interested in buying a gently used dissection kit, please come see me after the ceremony. As helpful as it would be, there isn't a registrar-approved course calendar for what happens next. So, this is your chance to run after your most secret dreams, the ones that kept you going through the hardest times in your life. Sometimes, university can be a homogenizing place. We focus so hard on graduating that we forget about what makes us truly happy. But after today's ceremony, we'll have that piece of paper, the golden ticket we ate so much chocolate to get. We can hang it on the wall, or keep it in its original plastic envelope at the bottom of a sock drawer, or make a $40,000 paper airplane out of it. However, I know that we won't forget what we gained and sacrificed to get it. The knowledge that we've learned here at McMaster is already slipping through our fingers like tiny grains of sand. With any luck, some of this sand will fall into the hands of the people we meet, because the value of a university education is only useful when shared. Being a lifelong learner isn't about getting a master's degree and then a PhD and more college diplomas than you can shake a stick at. Those things are certainly worth doing, and I applaud anyone who goes on to achieve these after today. But lifelong learning is more than that. It's about appreciating the power of any situation to teach you something new. So, even if you end up working the drive-thru at the Tim Hortons in your hometown, at least you'll be able to convert the temperature of the coffee from Celsius to Kelvins. I wish you all the best in everything that you hope to do. It has been a pleasure to spend 22% of my life, 6 trillion of my brain cells, and 4,000% of my future income at McMaster University. Congratulations, class of 2011. We did it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. That was terrific. Just one note, I would like to point out, having also done a degree in music as well as science, it is more acceptable now than it used to be a nerdy artist or an artistic scientist. So, way to go. Now I'd like to call upon the Dean of Science, Dr. John Capone, who will present the Governor General's Silver Academic Medal, the Burke Memorial Ring, and the Jensen Medal.
Mr. Chancellor, McMaster University has been granted 2 academic silver medals by the Governor General. This medal is awarded annually to the undergraduate student graduating with the highest academic standing. This year, Tallulah Andrews is one of the 2 recipients of the Governor General's Academic Silver Medal. I ask that you and all those present join with me to express recognition of her achievement.
Congratulations to you. It's a great honor. Good luck to you. You actually get a medal.
Great. Thank you.
All the best to you.
It is my pleasure to present the Burke Memorial Ring to Heather Fisher.
Heather, congratulations to you. I don't know if it will fit. Hope it does. But good luck in everything you do.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to present the Jensen Medal to George Wright.
Congratulations, George. It's a great honor, and good luck to you. All the best.
And now I call again upon our president, Dr. Patrick Deane, who will present the University Distinguished Professor and the President's Award of Excellence in Student Leadership.
Dr. Daphne Mora, please come forward. From time to time, the Senate of McMaster University awards the title of Distinguished University Professor to exceptional individuals whose contributions in research, scholarship, and education are truly outstanding. Only full-time members of the faculty are eligible, and there can be no more than 8 active distinguished university professors at any time. Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present McMaster's newest distinguished university professor, Daphne Mora. Dr. Mora is a professor in the Department of Psychology, and one of the most highly regarded developmental psychologists in the world. She joined the McMaster faculty in 1974 as a lecturer, before being promoted to assistant professor and later associate professor in the Department of Psychology. She was promoted to full professor in 1985 and has served in a number of administrative capacities since then, including chair of the McMaster Research Ethics Board and president of the McMaster Faculty Association. With her work on human visual development and in the general fields of sensory, plasticity, behavioral neuroscience, and ophthalmology, Dr. Mora's innovative experimental methods have been highly influential in the understanding of the perceptual and visual development of infants, and she has become particularly well recognized for her work on synesthesia and its relationship to language. In addition to her groundbreaking research, Dr. Mora has served as a mentor to many graduate students. In fact, 2 of her recent graduates were recipients of the Canadian Institute of Health Research's prestigious Brain Star Awards. The author of hundreds of scientific publications, Dr. Mora is a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada and the Association for Psychological Science. In 2006, Dr. Mora received the award for outstanding service from the McMaster University Faculty Association in 2006, and she was named a Marie Curie Visiting Fellow of the University of London in 2007. She is listed in the 8th edition of Marquis' Who's Who in the World. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Daphne Mora. Congratulations. Well done. Would Vishal Tiwari please join me on the stage? During his tenure as the President and Chief Executive Officer of the McMaster Students' Union in 2009-2010, Vishal Tiwari made a number of significant contributions to student life and the campus culture. He oversaw the $400,000 renovation of the 1280 restaurant, for example, and made important progress on the MSU's Green program, including advocating for water fountain refits and promoting the use of reusable water bottles. He was also active in working with the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance and the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations to address important university issues such as infrastructure, deferred maintenance, and student engagement. Previously, Vishal had served as the MSU's Vice President Education, where one of his key accomplishments was organizing Vote Smart to promote student participation in the 2008 federal election. He has held numerous other student leadership positions, including serving as a community advisor and Welcome Week representative for Residence Life, as a student subcommittee co-chair for the McMaster Health Forum, and as a member of the Maroons Spirit Society. Vishal has a strong international component to his volunteer commitments as well. After serving as a volunteer with Canada World Youth in Yacaral de Pantoreñas in Costa Rica, he took an appointment as a volunteer in Lake Charles, Louisiana, through the McMaster Office of Community Service Learning in 2007. There, he was part of a team that delivered humanitarian and educational programs during the recovery from Hurricane Katrina. Please join me in congratulating Vishal Tiwari.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduands walked into this hall. They are now graduates and alumni of McMaster University. So may I introduce to you Ms. Jennifer Cleven of the McMaster Alumni Association. Jennifer will now deliver the Alumni Association address.
Good morning. Chancellor Wilson, President Deane, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and members of the McMaster class of 2011. As the Executive Counselor, Volunteer Management of the McMaster Alumni Association, I have the privilege today of representing the Mac alumni family, a family that has grown in number here this morning. The 147,000 members of the McMaster Alumni Association are an unconventional family. We don't expect invitations to your birthday, and we won't ask you to help us move furniture. Instead, we are united by common experiences and shared McMaster pride. We are proud when Ivan Reitman, class of '69, is nominated for a Best Picture Oscar, when Julie Angus, class of '97, becomes the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean, or when Stephen Ellip, 86, becomes CEO of Nokia. And most importantly, your fellow alumni take pride in you. In 2009, your Alumni Association surveyed Mac grads and found that pride in our alma mater and our fellow alumni is exceptionally high. The reasons for that pride are numerous and as individual as our graduates. If you do need some external validation, though, just remember McMaster is one of only 4 universities in Canada that is ranked within the top 100 universities in the world, according to Shanghai Jiao Tong University's annual poll. So go ahead and brag about earning your degree at Mac. You are well justified in doing so. Beyond being proud, I encourage you to exercise that pride by staying connected. As a result of the survey, we developed a strategic plan, introduced new programming, increased the number of events outside of the Hamilton area, and expanded our use of social media and technology to keep alumni connected. Watch for the alumni magazine, the McMaster Times, in your mailbox. Follow the association on email, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. You can join us at one of the hundreds of alumni events we organize annually, from Hamilton to Hong Kong. You can play in our flag football tournament, attend events for families, listen to lectures by well-known profs, or join the Alumni Book Club. You may not be aware that while you were busy earning your degree, the Alumni Association was already working on your behalf. With donations to the McMaster University Student Center, the David Braley Athletic Center, Alumni Field, as well as bursaries and scholarships, we hope that we help to create the best possible student experience for you and future students of McMaster. Through the association, you'll have access to value-added services like home, auto, and life insurance. We'll provide you with access to the McMaster libraries, the University Club, and career services. We'll even help you preserve your convocation memories with our photography program. In 5 or 50 years, we'll help you reconnect with a long-lost friend and we'll help you stay in touch with your home department or extracurricular groups. And long before you ever become nostalgic for the good old days, we'll help you kickstart your career with our young alumni activities and networking events, or introduce you to our alumni career coach. There is a place for all of you in the McMaster Alumni Association. You may be an occasional event participant or a leadership volunteer, but as you take your McMaster experiences into the years and decades ahead, remember that you are all ambassadors and advocates of your alma mater. Your achievements are the best advertisement for the value of a McMaster degree. Today, we celebrate your success as students and toast the promise of your bright futures as alumni. Your fellow Mac grads are proud of you already. We offer you our most sincere congratulations and a warm welcome to the McMaster alumni family.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now I invite our President, Dr. Deane, back to the podium to deliver the President's address.
Formally now, Mr. Chancellor, Madam Provost, Dr. Plummer, Dean Capone, distinguished faculty, graduating students, ladies and gentlemen. Within the walls of this auditorium today, graduands, you are both in and out of time, and the medieval rituals in which we have all been engaged drive home that message. For now, for this few hours, your past is concluded, and your future is not yet demanding attention. You can bask in the pleasure of your achievement, in the fellowship of your classmates and friends, and in the adoration or perhaps the relief of your parents and family. Warmest congratulations for all you have done. Convocation is a gathering of the university family, and with this ceremony today, we welcome you permanently into membership of that family. And in that respect, this event is not unlike a wedding, which thought prompts me to remark that in case you hadn't noticed, since your admission to the university, we've only been engaged, in fact. The results of your final examinations have provided good evidence of an honorable intention on your part. So today we have tied the knot which binds you to McMaster forever. Ominous word, forever. You notice I find myself again looking into the future. So much for being both in and out of time. The future awaits, and you must go from here and meet it. Or perhaps I should say that for each of you, our future awaits, and you must go forth and make it. That rewording is important because my theme today is not that your future is predetermined, rather that when you leave this hall, you will each be agents in history, relatively free, with the power to shape both your own destiny and the destiny of our planet. If you're able to find within yourselves the will to do that, and I expect you shall do so in one way or another, the real question to be answered must be how. Not by what practical means, but in what spirit will you approach the world? If I were to try your patience and push again my wedding analogy, I might think of quoting from the marriage service to remind you that your agency in history is not by any to be enterprised, nor taken in hand unadvisedly, lightly, or wantonly, but reverently, discreetly, advisedly, and soberly. But that would indeed be going too far. The graduates of this fine university, however, in taking up their agency in the world, do have responsibilities that must be discharged. With the privilege of higher education, and in particular a McMaster education, comes the expectation that your future actions will redound to the benefit of those less privileged, of humanity at large, and through all of that, to the credit of your alma mater. The future which you make for yourselves is ours also. So in what spirit should you approach that future? I know that on occasions like this, people are given to hyperbole. What do you say, for example, when you appear on the stage at the Kodak Theatre in Hollywood, ready to accept an Academy Award? We all know the speech that's prescribed, and it runs something like this. I just want everyone to know that if you just want something hard enough and you work for it hard enough, you will succeed. That's what happened with me, and look, here I am. By how many callow new faces in Hollywood have these words been spoken over the years? Most notably, I think, by Christina Aguilera at the Grammys a couple of years ago. There's a version of that same platitudinous speech that is not infrequently given from the convocation stage. And of course, at one level, I would applaud such a positive message. It is certainly true that in some cases, sheer disciplined determination does bring success, but certainly not always, despite the new actor's claim to the contrary. So today I want to recommend to you the virtue of a different kind of self-discipline. And perhaps it won't reverberate for you quite so well today, when you all feel, as is your right, like queens and kings of the world. But I hope that in time you will come to understand better its importance. I was recently in Beijing to attend a World Summit of University Presidents, part of which was a special session focusing on the issues of the universities and social responsibility. On show there were, as you can imagine, many different understandings of what we mean by the phrase social responsibility. Indeed, one was struck by the lack of unanimity even on how we would define a university. But one intervention in particular has stayed with me in the weeks since my return, and this came from Dr. Junichi Hamada, president of Tokyo University, who indicated that in the days since the earthquake and tsunami devastated the northeastern part of his country, Japanese society has markedly lost confidence in science and technology. And in consequence, a gap has opened up between the universities and the public at large, where once the two were joined in a relationship of optimism, confidence, and high aspirations, there is now skepticism and doubt. Now, in part, this news was easy to understand and not surprising. The failure of engineers and scientists successfully to contain the crisis at the Fukushima nuclear power plant was bound to provoke a collapse of confidence. And as the days have turned into weeks, and as prior assurances about the safety of people living in close proximity to the plant have been shown to be unfounded, cynicism has proliferated. But still, I found myself wondering why the fact of the earthquake and the tsunami themselves should affect public confidence in science. After all, while it is true that scientists may be able on rare occasions to predict disasters, and quite commonly to advise on preparing for them, it remains the case that science can no more prevent natural disasters occurring than Canute, the Danish King of England, could successfully command the tide to halt so as not to wet his feet and robes. I'm sure many of you know that story. It is a story that is frequently misunderstood, though. In our modern age, Canute is usually cited as an example of early Western megalomania. Apparently what we know, namely that the seas will listen to no man, he did not know, being drunk on power and deluded by religious superstition. Or so the popular version goes. If you read the one extant, more or less contemporary account of Canute's watery encounter, however, this is in the work of the 12th century chronicler Henry of Huntingdon, the story is very different. The point of Canute's actions is to remind his courtiers and clerics of nothing less than the limitations of human knowledge and human power. Once his feet are wet and he has made his point, he literally takes off and hangs up his crown. The moral of this story, told 800 years ago, is that there are very significant limitations to the human ability to achieve, and that in some contexts, our desires and aspirations, as well as our technology, can be irrelevant. At the conference in Beijing, I wondered whether the public disillusionment of which Dr. Hamada spoke was not in some way connected to, or even nurtured by, the extravagance with which universities themselves occasionally frame their aspirations, making claims to an unrealistic level of influence and effectiveness. What happened to Canute on the beach at Bosham in West Sussex was natural and expected, and it could only have been cause for humiliation and embarrassment if he had not previously asserted that he could make the sea recede at his will. I'm not suggesting that science in Japan or anywhere else for that matter is subject to the level of self-delusion embodied in the popular conception of Canute. But I am wanting to sound a warning to you all to reject the false certainties and the spurious confidence in progress, which is one of the defining attributes of our time. I noticed that Dr. Hamada has recently posted on the web a very fine essay on his university and on its public responsibility. There he makes claims with which I would certainly agree, namely that in our turbulent and changing age, academia is expected to sketch the outline of a new form of society and mark the path to reach that goal. This is a proper ambition, and if you were to read the essay, you would notice that it is expressed in terms appropriately modest in a post-Fukushima context. There are no grand claims for the ability of science to conquer all challenges. But it has to be noted, nevertheless, that Dr. Hamada expresses the aspirations of the Academy in a linear metaphor. We're on a path which must lead somewhere, and the presumption we're invited to make is that where it leads will in some sense be better than where we are at present. This kind of thinking used to be called evolutionary meliorism, because it assumed that we are always in the process of becoming better than we were, of being more powerful, more insightful, more in command of nature and of its intractable forces. Is this the spirit in which you should approach your future? Optimism certainly has its place, an important place, in building our culture and society, in underwriting scientific speculation and investigation, in driving forward to solve the problems of humanity through research and humanitarian work. There is undoubtedly truth in what the young actor says when he asserts that if you believe in yourself or in a cause, anything is possible. But it is only a partial truth, and a sentimental one at that. On an occasion like this, as you celebrate what you have achieved, what you know, and what you can do, it is important to hold yourself to the discipline of acknowledging what you don't know, what you may not be able to do, and the possibility that some achievements may remain forever beyond our grasp. Why is this so? We habitually talk as if the great achievements of humankind were all the result of determination, resolve, and the single-minded pursuit of an idea. Even if that is true, a countervailing point is that single-mindedness lies also at the base of our greatest man-made tragedies. And that is why skepticism and doubt must go with you into your futures. On that note, I will end by recalling the late Jacob Bronowski, mathematician, biologist, and historian of science, who in a famous television series aired in 1973, bent down to lift from a pond at Auschwitz a wet handful of the ashes of the Holocaust dead. And this is what he said: "Science is a very human form of knowledge. We're always at the brink of the known. We always feel forward for what is to be hoped. Every judgment in science stands at the edge of error and is personal. Science is a tribute to what we can know, although we are fallible." In the end, the words, quotes Bronowski, were said by Oliver Cromwell: "I beseech you in the bowels of Christ, think it possible you may be mistaken." Take note of Bronowski's first assertion. Science is a very human form of knowledge. The essence of all human activity is that it stands on the edge of error, is limited, personal, partial, potentially mistaken. And lest you infer from what I've said that I believe scientists are uniquely and peculiarly prone to think themselves, their opinions and their hypotheses infallible, I hasten to take note of the number of artists, writers, and musicians who have held and acted upon inflexible, repugnant, and inhumane views. I invite you to remember the anti-Semitic ramblings of the poet Ezra Pound, Martin Heidegger's statements on the inner truth and greatness of the National Socialist movement in Germany in 1935, and the case of Richard Strauss, described by Thomas Mann as a Hitlerian composer. Remember, furthermore, that Adolf Hitler himself was both a monster and an avid painter of landscapes. Of the same mind as Oliver Cromwell, a scientist, Sir Lawrence van der Post, wrote not so long ago that human beings are perhaps never more frightening than when they are convinced beyond doubt that they are right. And in that fundamental aspect, scientist and poet, scientist and artist are of imagination all compact, if I might borrow and adapt the famous line from Shakespeare. The university exists not only to foster the advancement of science, the finding of new knowledge, or the creation of new art, music, and literature. Unalloyed with the spirit of criticism, or rather self-criticism, any of these critical human activities may tumble into narcissism. The purpose of the university is to take us much further, to take all of you much further, to help us understand the discoveries of science and the creations of artists as products of the human mind and imagination, and through them to grasp what it means to be human, standing always in history and on the edge of error. Perhaps that latter is the most difficult of our tasks, both within the university and, like all of you, after we leave it, for the simple and paradoxical reason that to progress in any way, we must acknowledge that we too stand always in an intimate, personal relation to self-delusion and ignorance. Graduates, your future must be a triumph not of the personal will, but of humane wisdom. And in that spirit, I congratulate you all. I wish you well, and I commend you to the years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Deane, for a very thoughtful and inspirational set of remarks, and I'm sure, noted by the applause of the graduates and the people assembled here, others felt the same way. Thank you very much. Katie, thank you for your enthusiasm. That, too, is inspirational, and good luck to you and your fellow graduates. I realize that I'm all that stands between you and some refreshments and some lunch and other activities this afternoon. I would like, on your behalf, to thank the people who aren't apparent in making this ceremony as successful as it is. The provost obviously plays a role, but behind the scenes are many people who orchestrate and organize the events of Convocation, and they're not always recognized. And I'd like, on your behalf, simply to thank them. I hope you will too. I'm advised that flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. And I'd ask you to please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. I'd ask you now to rise and join with me in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.